Really quickly, Ike, first two picks, Panthers number 1, Texans at number 2. I would say either go Stroud or Anthony Richardson if I were the Panthers. What should those two teams do at the very top of the draft?
I like AR. I think AR got the no ceiling clause in what he can do. I think AR is the best athlete slash quarterback, and this how I look at quarterbacks. When you got quarterbacks who are in major top Power 5 colleges, who they throwing to? Is the offensive line going high in the draft? Is their running backs going high in the draft? Is their receivers going high in the draft? Okay, name one Anthony Richardson receiver that you think that's going to go first or second round. Name one offensive lineman from Florida that you think that's going to go first or second round. Name one running back in the backfield from Florida with Anthony Richardson that you think that's going to go first round. So if you can't name them, that's showing the value and how good this kid is. I was already high on him. We talked about him at least a month and a half ago. And I always been high on AR because I saw what he did. He's done more with less. And if you just look at a lot of your great quarterbacks who come into the NFL, you really can't name top first round receivers that they had. Only a few. Aaron Rodgers from Cal, I don't think he had a top first round receiver. Big Ben, Miami, Ohio, I don't think he had a first round receiver. Joe Flacco coming from the East Coast, I don't think he had a first round receiver. So when you look at these guys and you're evaluating these guys, you're like, okay, if I do get these guys weapons, I can only imagine. So the Brett Favres, the John Elways, just look at these guys who in the Hall of Fame didn't have these luxuries that a lot of these Power 5 quarterbacks have when it comes down to the perimeter guys. So that's why I value AR so much, because he's done a lot with little. Like, he's done more with little, and that's why I had him as my top quarterback. Other teams might look at it different. I'm just saying, when we played guys, Eli Manning, and Eli was a TB12 go-getter. And when you look at TB12, Tom Brady, who did he have to throw to in college? That was a first or second round receiver. So that's when I look at the quarterback position, that's exactly how I value my quarterbacks. Now, when it gets to the league and you give them guys to throw to, it's like, man, I told you so. So just athletically, AR go with the right coach, go with the right situation. They're gonna take off. Obviously, he's gonna be around better receivers that he had. And this is no knock to nobody at Florida than Florida. So when you give him that kind of recipe and you give him a coach that know what to do with his athleticism, Mark, that's why I say there is no ceiling for AR. And that's why I think he's the best at that position in the draft.
So if he were to go 1, which it's looking like it's going to be Bryce Young, who is the heavy favorite out of Alabama, what do you think the Texans should draft Richardson at 2 then?
I'm going for AR. If I was in that position, if I was the GM, I'm taking AR. I'm taking AR.
And I know you're saying this too. Like, you're not saying this to get clicks. We've been doing this now for several years, and I always just sit back and listen. I'm getting a glimpse into your brain about how all this works, and I think about the development. You tell me all the time about how quarterbacks need to force defenses play 11 on 11. And when the Panthers had a quarterback 6'3", 6'4" out of the SEC several years back in Cam Newton, I'd say it worked out for them. Here's the thing too, and this might not be popular to say, but if Richardson were to get drafted early on, he's the type of quarterback where, yes, you want to see him on the field as soon as possible and the rookie contract and all of that. But if he goes to a system where he can learn from an established veteran who's played at a high level and then come in once he's ready, once he's familiar with the playbook, once he's learned underneath, that's not a popular or flashy decision to make, Ike, but I've seen that recipe work out for so many quarterbacks in the NFL. And to me, it's not really about the 2023 season for whichever team drafts Richardson. It's about his development and what it leads to in 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, so my thoughts on these quarterbacks coming out, Mark, is 7-on-7 is so huge. They got tens of thousands of snaps and reps at throwing the ball to receivers. Back in the day, Them guys had to work, or they didn't have the luxury of these 7-on-7 marks. These young kids, they getting reps after reps. So they're able to read cover 2, cover 1, cover 4. In high school, really, they starting off in middle school, then high school, then college. So the reps are so far and beyond with this generation. I don't see any reason for him to sit. If I'm looking at it, they didn't sit. Well, Eli had to wait it out, but Peyton Manning didn't sit. Seven had to wait it out. He came off a default. But nowadays, I don't think you need to sit. Joe Cool didn't sit in Cincinnati. He didn't sit at all. You already saw it. So when you see somebody special, you go on just take your losses, and your losses might be a couple of games. If we got 6 games in the front of the season and we win 3, hell, we're above schedule. That's how I look at it. So if we go 3-3, man, we're above schedule. How I'm looking at it with DeMarco Ryan sitting at the head coach position, one thing I know, his defense is going to be on point.
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to have some kind of a run game just coming from Kyle Shanahan and that tree. So you give him AR, now he has a luxury. Now he's thinking like a defensive coordinator, but on the offensive side, man, now it's really 11 on 11. Because usually when you got a pocket quarterback, you don't account for a quarterback running the ball. The first thing I tell whatever AR team go to is, hey, bro, as soon as you see daylight, run, but once you see daylight, slide. And I give me a dang baseball coach. Let AR go through some lessons on learning how to slide. If you don't know how to slide, that's the first thing I do. But it just makes your defense so hard to play when it's a true 11 on 11, because now that quarterback who can run, he's the ultimate mismatch. A guy who can damn near jump 40 inches, ran a 4.4 at the combine, threw the ball at his pro day, hit the top of the ceiling. That says a lot. And by the way, he's still raw. So now I can create and mold him to exactly who I want him to be. I can put that offense around his athletic ability. So I don't think it's an issue with AR going 1. I know they said they like the reps at the quarterback, but nowadays, excuse me, if you just look at the first round receivers, and this is no knock to CJ Stroud, but if you just look at the first round receiver CJ Stroud was going to, it's been nothing but first, second. He probably have a first or second wide receiver go this year. So if you look at what AR been working with as far as like receiver wise and rounds they've been going, really little to nothing. So that's what I'm saying. When I look at that quarterback position, I'm looking at who the heck is he throwing to? Who the heck is his offensive line? Does he have a first round running back and so on? So from that perspective, that's why I always looked at him like there is no ceiling. The sky's the limit for him, and really space is the limit for him. So that's why I would pick AR if I was GM at the number 1 receiver, and that's the reason why.
That's incredible, Ike. And I will say this, I am on record saying this. I think the Seahawks would be the best fit for him early on in the draft. Geno Smith, Pete Carroll and company, where he could learn, Ike. I know it's not popular to say this, but I'm just.
No, it's not popular, but Mark, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And we don't do nothing for clicks alike. We don't care nothing about that. We just talk football. But that would be a perfect landing spot, because you already know with the running game, they got a 2-headed monster over there already. Their defense is getting back to that old Pete Carroll's defense. So you just signed Geno. We see in the offseason, Geno is working his butt off. He signed a 3-year deal, well deserved. And if you want somebody to sit under Geno, it would be AR.
And Bobby Wagner's back too, Ike.